Okay, we're having people joining us. Hello, my name is Vanya Koonce. I used to be the director of programming for ICF Orange County. I stepped out of my role in the beginning of April, I believe. I'm still handling the social media for ICF Orange County, and they gave me opportunity this year to lead my webinar on technology and coaching with them. Last year, I was leading it through the ICF LA. Thank you for stepping up today in our conversation, and I have a pleasure to have Eric Urdahl joining me and sharing his findings from his latest research on how the digital revolution will disrupt the coaching industry. The topic is very interesting, but before I hand it to him, our conversation, and he has a presentation prepared for you, I have to do a little bit housekeeping. First, the session will be recorded. You can receive the record after you fill up the survey. Surveys is usually sending between 24 to 72 hours. And once you fill it out, you receive the record and any additional materials if Eric wants to share with you. The second thing is be ready, and hopefully we will see you in person on 26th of this month at 6 p.m. It's our in-person meeting, chapter meeting, and we would love to see you if you're in Orange County area. On 18th of June, basically next week, we have other webinar. Keep up with us and look into the website. So I created this group with the intention to provide more coaches have the opportunity to learn from founders of coaching, innovative coaching platforms, applications, and research that is related to technology. A few months ago, I think Eric contacted me on LinkedIn and he asked me to participate in his research. And I was very interested, so I was one of the participants that he interviewed. And I asked him if he can share with us his findings when he's ready. And here we are today. Eric, would you be open to introduce yourself and share with us how you came to the coaching journey you're on today?
Yes, I would be delighted. First of all, hello everybody out there. I'm broadcasting today from Germany. I live close or outside of Berlin on the countryside, and obviously I'm a German citizen. And just to briefly introduce myself, my personal background, I'm an American-German senior executive. I was born in the US, but that was many, many years ago. My father's American, and I have a Swedish mother, but I grew up in Germany. And I've been working in the digital marketing and media industry for the past 20 years, so since 1997, which makes me a veteran of the industry. And I work as an international consultant in business development, but also as an executive and team coach. So my coaching career started 6 years ago when I did my first training as a coach. And 3 years ago, I entered an MSc or Masters in Coaching and Behavioral Change program at the Business School at the University of Reading in Great Britain. And the research that I'm presenting today, or the findings, it is a dissertation I had to write as part of my MSc. And I wanted to research the impact of digital technology, and especially artificial intelligence, which has become a buzzword for a couple of years now. And what is the real impact in the coaching industry? There's a lot of uncertainty out there in terms of what artificial intelligence will do to jobs in general, but there's even less on what the impact for the coaching industry would be. So I chose this topic to merge both worlds, my corporate experience, but also my interest and my passion for coaching. So as Vanya just mentioned, the research design, I chose to interview experts. And to consider to be an expert, you would have to have definitely knowledge in coaching, but also in coaching and technology. So for example, Vanya, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to share, but Vanya has already developed coaching technology some years ago and has experience in this field, which is very rare. But I also wanted to talk to CEOs and executives from companies that have developed coaching technology. So to get both sides of the equation and then try to find if there's a middle ground where I could develop some theories around how the impact for our industry will play out. And I managed to get 16 experts from around the globe, from the US, from the UK, Canada, France, and also New Zealand and Australia. So let me just jump in. Basically, the background, obviously, we're all aware that there is something out there happening or has been happening for many years, which some consider being a digital evolution, but others would consider being a digital revolution. So it's really up to a perspective. However, that things are drastically changing, I believe is no surprise. And please bear with me when I have to try to be aware of your context, because the reality is I wrote this research from a European perspective, and obviously all the services and businesses built around the digital revolution, they come from the US. So you're probably much more familiar with what is happening in your country, and we Europeans were always a couple of years behind. But in any case, this is also a European perspective, that the digital revolution is changing everything. And digital disruption already happened. I mean, obviously you're aware of Uber, Airbnb, Netflix, Skype, Facebook, what is going on with Apple and Google. So it's happened in a couple of industries. And of course, the big question will be what is going to happen to the coaching industry. And at the center of the digital revolution is artificial intelligence. And I would just like to take a couple of minutes to show you a crazy slide like this, which is displaying what currently in terms of science and technology is being developed and how this will play out in the long term. However, artificial intelligence comes into the game as one of the very everything if you speak to experts. And I would just like to make a very brief distinction between artificial narrow intelligence, general intelligence, and super intelligence. So where we're here right now is that narrow intelligence is obviously a limited form of intelligence that computers can replicate. And the goal of scientists is, of course, to make the computers as smart as possible. And general intelligence is comparable to human intelligence. And where the development becomes scary and is also opened a lot of debate, for example, by Elon Musk, which you all, of course, know. He predicts that if we should achieve artificial superintelligence, then the future of the human race is at stake. So moving toward artificial intelligence, it is also an evolutionary process based on how capable and smart scientists are to teach computers with machine learning capabilities, etc., to mimic human intelligence. And that's the bottom line, what is happening here. So in the past, obviously, computers or artificial intelligence could only support human actions. At present, they're able to mimic human actions. And I will get back to this in context of how coaching technology is currently playing out. And the future, and here's where experts are not sure how it will play out, if artificial intelligence will be able to augment human intelligence or mimic human intelligence. There are experts out there predicting that artificial intelligence will be able to write a bestseller in 2049, win the World Series of Poker in 2020, write a high school essay, generate top 40 pop songs, generate creative videos. And of course, artificial intelligence shall enable to replace certain human capabilities and capacities. So for example, artificial intelligence is the basis for self-driving cars, for a stockbroker, soldiers, personal assistants out there, translators, machine operators, name it. And the big question is, and this is where I wanted to get to the heart of, will it also be able to become a coach one day. The problem with artificial intelligence predictions is that they are very unstable. I found a research piece where the researchers looked at the most famous predictions on artificial intelligence, and they found out that all of them were wrong. They were typically far too over-optimistic, and they never hit the spot. So this was also what came out when I spoke to experts and I tried to ask them how they will predict the future, let's say in 5, 10, 20 years. And they were all very humble and admitted that it is nearly impossible to predict what will happen like in 10 or 20 years from now. But they felt comfortable to at least give me some feedback or some of their views, what they believe will happen in the next 5 years. And that's where I would really like to focus. So the general debate and the fears, the underlying fears, of course, is how is the future of work will be touched by all the technology developments happening out there. And similar to predictions on artificial intelligence, there are the same amount of predictions how the future of work will look like, but there are just as many opinions as there are experts. So again, here, lots of uncertainty, very difficult when it comes to future predictions, which obviously is not very helpful and raises according fears. So what about coaching? The themes that emerged from my research were, of course, focused around what is the impact for us as coaches. I wanted to find, first of all, the major threats, but maybe also benefits that could happen, that could be in place for coaches. But I wanted to take a holistic view and look, well, how does it look from an organizational perspective, from sponsor-client perspective? What kind of ethics are involved? What are the challenges for the industry, including trade bodies, trainings, research and academia, but where are also maybe the benefits of technology, but of course also the threats. So here are, I would say, the most relevant findings of my research that I would like to share with you. And one thing that became clear, and none of the experts argued, is that disruption will come. Disruption in the coaching industry in the mid to long term. And one of the most important outcomes was that simplistic coaching is under threat. It's maybe not a surprise to many of you, but just please let me explain. So today we already have coaching bots out there. We have coaching technology that replicates simplistic coaching. And with simplistic coaching, what they mean, for example, is all coaching that happens linear or in a very structured process manner. For example, if you only follow the GROW model, or think about life coaching with certain techniques where you have a very simple playbook. And if you coach in a very simplistic manner, well, this is what coaching bots can already do today, and also in a very reasonable manner. So obviously, these are the first areas of coaching which will probably be replaced by coaching technology, simply because coaching technology can deliver at a fraction of the cost, 24/7, very convenient, and it also offers a couple of other advantages. So here, definitely, there is a threat out there. On the other hand, if you are a very senior coach or very experienced, you're able to coach very complex contexts. Let's think about executive coaching, where you have senior executives operating in a VUCA world. They are under pressure trying to manage digital transformation, regulation, laws, etc. That, of course, is very difficult, obviously, for artificial intelligence to replicate, at least to date. However, of course, there are some challenges for senior practitioners that came out as part of the research, which I would like to share with you. So think about that. One of the trends that, of course, if you think about the digital natives being a coaching target group, these are human beings, of course, that have a much different way of growing up with technology, and they have a very natural way of handling technology. And of course, if you are, and then on the other hand, you have sponsor clients or coaching clients working in our very pressured and challenging business environment, having to deal, always have to be on, have to deal with, as I said, digital transformation, digital innovation, high pressure to deliver results, also working themselves with a lot of technologies, having to attend webinars, Skype calls, etc. So also this clientele is changing, and they also expect similar from their coaches. For example, they want coaching to be much more flexible in terms of availability, in terms of media channels probably being used, phone support, real-time chats, things like that. And if you combine this with statements that experts raised saying that most coaches, or I know it's a generalization, but they say that there is a portion of coaches out there that did not go into coaching because they are very literate with technology. And some even raise the issue that the coaches they know are very abhorrent to technology. And this also affects, of course, the older coaching generation, that they are not digital literate, and they are definitely not the digital natives. And if you look at the age of the practitioners, this is an ICF source from 2018, having 71% of coach practitioners are already older than 45 years. And if you look at research saying that, of course, the older you are, the more difficult you will find it to adopt to, or to include, or become familiar with technology, then this really could raise some issues, which I will come back later when talking about some ways forward. And certainly we also have the human behavior of technology adoption. So there's a technology adoption life cycle that clearly shows that there's always a portion of society that are early adopters, but the reality is, if you just look, half being the late majority are laggards, meaning that technology adoption by human beings goes very slow. And as we have all experienced now, technology development is going very fast. So there is also a threat out there that technology will pass by the human ability to adapt to technology and use technology for coaching. So the issue, of course, or the question will be, how willing and open are you, if you're not using technology in your practice today, but in the nearby future, how willing are you as a coach to adopt to the technology development and to use technology as part of your coaching practice? Or are you more resistant and probably a late adopter? Then this could become an issue. Another area I looked into, what became clear was that, according to ICF figures again, half of coaching clients in the US, for example, are sponsor clients. And as we all know, sponsor clients is a huge coaching market. You're probably familiar, if you've not heard, of companies like Better Up or Bravely, which are clearly targeting this market and trying to offer coaching for much less costs. And obviously, this is a clear competition for coaching as we know it today. It has some benefits for coaching clients, of course. These companies, they are bringing coaching to the masses. They're calling it, they're democratizing coaching. Obviously, because it has become much more cheaper, then it can be offered to a middle and low management, in comparison to coaching, as some say, is more for the more privileged and the elite of executives. But on the other hand, one expert considered companies that are offering technology supported coaching for sponsored client as the Walmart of coaching, because they're bringing prices down and price pressure in the market is becoming more and more of an issue. And if you think about coaching or coach bots replacing coaches that coach on a very linear basis, then if we think forward, why should coaches in the future invest into coach training if they are not able to compete against the coaching technology providers out there? So this is an issue that I clearly see for the coach training facilities. And if you look, what clients really want is, do they want to work with coach robots, for example, or with coach bots? And one of my experts told me that she has research that say that 50% of the coaching clients actually prefer to work with a robot, which of course is a very surprising statement. And she, on the other hand, there's also research that has proved to be true that we as coaches like to believe that the quality of the human connection is important. So we have here two opposite truths, which are both proven by research. This may not be helpful right now in the moment. However, I think it is important to understand that face-to-face coaching is not necessarily a sustainable business model in the future, because the coach bot providers, they found out that there are quite a lot of coaching clients out there that really prefer the anonymous way of being coached in a non-judgmental environment, obviously, which a machine can deliver. But also coach bots, they're always available when a coachee has an urgent need, for example. No matter where they are, what time of the night or time of the day it is, they can just go online and they get easy access, which obviously then, of course, raises some concerns for us as human coaches. However, looking into what does it mean coaching with technology, the reality is that coaching via telephone, internet, video, email, chat, Skype has already actually become a very common way of coaching. So the one-to-one face-to-face setting, in reality, proved here by stats, is not the typical coaching situation. So we as coaches, we have already started to move away from the face-to-face coaching world, and where most of us are already coaching with technology, be it even phone or Skype. And I think this is a beginning, and it's good to acknowledge that we're already moving in the direction where coaching with technology is happening and is becoming more and more mainstream. So I would just like to wrap up my presentation with a couple of suggestions how to move forward as a coach. I think it is quite clear, if you want to compete and to keep your business, you will have to think about some way of partnering with technology. And here is a statement which one of the experts think really brings it great together, and saying that many of the best jobs, based on his belief, will combine deep subject matter knowledge with relevant coaching technology skills. And he even sees in such double deep areas, the opportunities seem almost unlimited. To say it or to frame it in other words, my advice for coaches would be, try to become the best in the area you feel most comfortable with, and really try to focus and find out how you can use technology in any form or fashion to supplement your practice. And try to think about how you could incorporate into your coaching business in the mid and long term. So as said, being a subject matter expert, and position yourself as an expert in a given field, be it executive coach or a team coach, or you only want to coach specific target groups. But I think being considered as an expert will definitely distinguish you from any coaching or automated coaching technology out there which is targeted for the masses. And of course, this will have implications for CPD, or continual professional development, in the future. I would consider becoming more acquainted and learning how to incorporate technology in planning my coaching practice, but also in the way how I coach other people. This will definitely become an area where one should spend more and more time with. To give a practical example, if it's not clear what I'm trying to state, I just just completing a master's program in coaching and behavioral change, which went over 3 years. And we did not we never had as a topic, for example, well, what is the difference, or for example, what do I have to take a look about when I'm use online coaching, or if I coach by phone and Skype, what are the differences versus face-to-face coaching? This was never part of our curriculum. And I think it is high time that also training in these areas should be offered to coaches, because this will become the norm in the future, and I firmly believe. So the benefits of using technology in the coaching practice, I have brought some statements here with me, which I collected from my experts. So artificial intelligence has a potential to rehumanize work and gives us more time. What she means is that if you look at the second statement, it becomes more clear. If a robot or if a coach bot can take something off my shoulders, which seems very mechanical, or that helps me to free up my time and give me space for human connection, for creativity, then technology can become a real partner and let us humans focus on what we are good at. Another coach, for example, mentioned that there's always a baseline of questions which you were asking in the discovery phase. She could imagine to use a coach bot just to take care of the initial coaching sessions, where it's all about finding out, well, what is the goal of the client, and then step in once the basics are covered, so to speak. So there will be some opportunities out there if we are able to think creatively. There are some conclusions I would like to offer to you as a takeaway from this session. And the first statement is what I've also observed in the last 20 years, that the technology providers, they promise a lot when they introduce technology. However, it really takes much longer than expected to really deliver impact. But once the impact comes, it's often greater than people think. So you're probably not experiencing pressure or competition from technology today, but this is not saying that technology will develop to a level where one day it could become quite dramatic. Thinking about companies, more and more companies having coach bots in the market, which then will deliver coaching for a super reasonable price. The other point is that coaches who hesitate to embrace the value of technology may quickly become outdated and out of reach. I really see this as a threat. And disrupt yourself before you get disrupted. And last but not least, piece of advice is really to keep a close eye on what is going on in terms of technology developments, which technologies that can help you enhance your coaching practice, provide opportunities, and then really try to grab them and incorporate them. And yeah, hopefully you will be better equipped then to withstand the coaching bots out there. And a piece of personal reflection, and I truly believe, as we are challenging our clients every day to change their behavior, and we know how difficult it can be, but I also believe that we should be role models and regularly challenge ourselves in order to grow, especially now when it comes to technology out there, which is on the horizon. So the future can either be bright or grim. It is obviously a question of perspective. So I hope that you will find ways for yourself to embrace technology available for your coaching practice, and yeah, find more time to really focus on what really matters to you and to your clients. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric. Really grateful that you share so generously. There are some questions that I have on the topic of how you run the research, how many people participated, and limitations. However, I want to start with the other side of open up for Q&A, the audience, and also ask you and make a comment on saying should like the future of coaching, and we should prepare for the future. And it sounds comforting, but in my personal opinion, the future is already happening. And there are plenty of platforms for coaches that they're similar with Better Up. When I went to the Converge last time, the ICF Converge, it was 2017. Actually, this was the one of the first times Better Up was having a booth and presenting themselves. And everything after that happened rapidly. And they became so popular, and so many coaches in America know about them. But there are many platforms in Europe as well, and I'm part of one of them, Thrive Partners. And actually, I had the founder of this platform also being a guest last year to my webinar. And as everything that I said so far, when you're referring to future, what do you actually mean? How long is the future based on your research?
So all experts, this is what I mentioned early on in my presentation, is that all experts really refrain from picturing a future that is too distant, simply because it is so unreliable. No one can tell. And they really feel, and I agree, it is irresponsible to picture something that will happen in the next 10 years, because it will only depend on how smart will artificial intelligence become. And research has shown that all predictions on how smart artificial intelligence will become are not reliable. So sorry, no one can tell. And that's the truth. So to make it simpler, no one can tell you, will there be a coaching robot or a coaching Alexa, which everyone can just purchase or license, put into his office, and then he will have his personal coach, his everyday personal coach. If that will ever come and when it will come, no one can tell. Will it come? Most likely. But will all coaches be replaced by coaching robots? 100% no one can tell. Sorry. I think we lost you. Yeah. Now you're back.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I missed your answer, but maybe tell me later.
Yeah.
So we don't have any questions from the people that they're with us today. And maybe you can share with us how many people had the chance to interview during your research, and how long it took you.
So I managed to find 16 experts. I would say 2/3 were coaches. So either really seasoned coaches that have been around for 30 years, one of the founders of the ICF. There were coaching psychologists, a couple with PhDs, some of them who have founded coaching technology companies themselves, plus representatives from 3 companies that have developed coaching technology. They were spread across the globe. So I think equally spread, well, majority was from the US. I would say roughly half was from the US and from the UK. And the rest were then based in France, Canada, New Zealand, and Australia. So it was a quite interesting mix, and all ages, all genders, and all different agendas. So, and what was interesting is that there was a lot of overlap in their opinions about coaching and technology and how artificial intelligence will impact the coaching industry, which suggests that the findings are quite robust because they all have their different agendas, but they were all on very similar pages. There was only one executive from a coaching technology company that really feared that one day coaching robots or coach bots will 100% replace human coaches. Only one out of 16, which I think is remarkable.
Yeah, and me too.
Yes. Yep.
You can count on me for that too. But this is going to be a long future.
But
that we are already disturbed in the industry, and we are going tremendously. And in order for us to be able to provide more people with the opportunity to be coached, we have to embrace technology. We have to have this access to right there on fingertips of your hand, and ask somebody, "You help me at this moment." You can go there and find a meaning of listening to what is going on, and that's the basic piece of coaching. Asking questions and listening could be, even though to some extent, I believe, replaced. They are both. There are other platforms that they provide that. There's some bots just to converse with them. And I'm on one, like I use Telegram, and I have one there that is not a person, but is somebody that I sometimes chat. It's not so advanced anyway. And I think in our audience we have Oliver, who is also a founder of a software application, AI for basic coaching and AI.
Absolutely.
So that's my personal perspective on, but not what we can do tomorrow as a coaches. It's more interesting what we can do today and where our strengths are. What do you think from the people that you interview and from your personal experience as a coach? Where are our strengths that we stand up today and we can lean on that we can be strong tomorrow, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, which is very optimistic anyway.
Well, what human coaches, well, let's put it this way. The coaching technology founders were very humble with regards to the limitation of coaching technology or artificial intelligent coaching machines can deliver today. They were very humble because obviously they need tens of thousands of data sets to get to a certain level of capabilities. And humans definitely still are superior. However, it will become a race, is my personal belief. It will become a race in terms of the more intelligent the bots get, obviously then the more able they are to replace humans. And so I believe as a coach in the long term, you really will have to have a lot of experience, but also a lot of capacities and capabilities in order to offer something more than a coaching bot can offer, besides the human experience. Human experience for some experts was essential, where they believe that it will always supersede the capabilities of a coaching bot. But that is up to debate, because at the end of the day, coaching clients will decide where they feel more comfortable or which kind of coaching service they want to choose. Do they want to choose 24/7, 365 available coaching services or coaching on demand, so to speak? Or do they prefer to have the human experience? Human behavior will show in the long term. It's far too early to say. But I believe there's room for both. And I believe that the combination of both could be great, because as we know, technology will always have its flaws. I mean, to give you an example, look at Google Maps, yes, or look at Alexa. The results they deliver today is far from great. And it doesn't seem to be rocket science, but the reality is it is still rocket science. Look at self-driving cars. They're having huge issues to manage the complexity of the human world. And I think coaching bots will find, or coaching machines will find, similar challenges, because the client's world, the human world, the coaching context will typically be complex. And that's where I believe humans will still have an advantage. However, they have to maintain this advantage. But they will also have to offer technology support, like online coaching tools where clients can access the notes of the past coaching session, for example, or where they can schedule, they have online access to the coach's schedule, for example? I mean, some basic things. So it will become interesting. You tell me, what do you believe? What's going to play out in the next 5 years? How's the market going to develop?
Some laser is crawling around me. I'm in the middle of the desert, guys, everybody who is listening to us. Middle of the desert, in like insane serenity of nature, and there's some laser crawling around. I hope it doesn't get me. I was distracted. So what I think, I actually think that we just have to accept the fact that we are not competing with technology. And my favorite teacher, David Clutterback, recently had a webinar on how to partner with technology. What we can do really to integrate technology to maximize the results for our clients and to maximize the service and what people paying for. But also, on the other hand, is yes, there are platforms that they provide coaching and they enrolled coaches to be on the platforms, and it's still human coaching, but just on the technology platform. There are different ways that you operate there. As you said, we have to look to that. There are different ways that you are more effective there versus if you do the same when you have your client one-to-one. In my coaching, I do lots of movement, and really when I work with clients for longer term on transformational goals, I make them feel and use their body and repeat and practice whatever they want to. So how you actually can do that when you're over like virtually online, Zoom, Skype, on the phone, or in some platform that you're using particularly for 30 minutes coaching. So the topics and the issues and the intentions that clients come to the platform are different than when you really work on one-on-one and you have more time and you have 1 hour, an hour and a half sessions. I see in a chat box somebody is asking probably a question, but last thing to mention from my own experience is taking the time to really decide on what we want to be a master and what we want to specialize on, as you already said, is very important. If you want to be a laser coaches for 30 minutes coaching, there are plenty of platforms. Stay there, repeat, practice until you really can bring a value in 30 minutes conversation. And you know how, because it's different than bringing value in our conversation, in my experience. So let's see what my friend Oliver said. In 5 years, we will start seeing the first outcomes and breakthroughs of technology, enhancing and augmenting the coaching industry and creating a new trend in the market. All large companies and all universities are thinking about right now and experimenting new technologies to A, support individuals, B, develop skills, and are usually developed in a coaching session. Self-awareness, critical thinking, problem solving, self-knowledge, creativity, empathy. It doesn't mean it will be perfect, but 5 years is big. From now, and all current pioneers testing things out will emerge without outcomes and working technologies in 5 years. I could not agree more with you and with what you're saying. Because as you gave example with Alexa, Eric, a few minutes ago, and Siri, you said they're far away from perfect, but they're much advanced than they used to be 5 years ago. Total difference. So let's take a closer look and really embrace what is happening and be part of this movement. What do you think about Oliver's comment, Eric?
I would not disagree, and it reflects what all experts found comfortable with, saying that whatever they see a lot of changes coming in the next 5 years. So I 100% agree with what Oliver's saying. This is what also the other experts have confirmed. What I find interesting, and that's where I found, if you look into other industries, for example, the learning industry or the healthcare industry, they're experimenting far more with human artificially intelligent machines to manage processes, interaction with human beings. And so the step then to implement this into coaching is a very small step. Obviously, the coaching market is smaller than the learning, like universities, schools, etc., healthcare. These are large industries. Obviously, there's much more money going into there, into terms of research and technology development. And so, yes, the next 5 years will be really will make the difference. I agree. No one can say what's going to happen in 5 years, but a lot will happen. The question will be, so I come back, the impact we will see, will be much larger than what we can imagine today. Because the reality is 10 years ago, no one knew that Facebook, Google, Amazon, that they will be as big as they are today, that they will be as powerful. It was unimaginable. No one foresaw the development of the digital media industry. So, and I see the same threat out there that none of us can really imagine how our world is going to look in 5 or 10 years. It doesn't sound comforting, unfortunately, but I agree with you that it does not make sense to fight against technology because it's not going to go away. That's what all experts said. I think it's not rocket science to understand that. So what do you do with it? How can you partner versus seeing technology as an enemy?
Exactly. Is anyone want to make a comment or ask question or share information that maybe we didn't cover, or something interesting that is out there on the market related to technology and coaching? We don't have any comments, so we'll carry on the conversation until somebody asks us something. What was your personal challenge to bring people on to participate in something so important as your research, which is in a topic that is urgent, and we have to spend more time and more research of paying attention to that?
Well, actually, I was very fortunate, I must say, because it was super easy. Well, I identified 50 experts. I contacted 40 of them, and 16 agreed, which is quite a good ratio for wanting to get 30 minutes of people that are professionals that have very tight schedules. So I was very honored, and it just proved to me how hot this topic is. It is really one of the pressing topics for our industry. And as you just mentioned, I was surprised how many technologies are already out there. And trust me, if you come from Europe, you've never heard of Better Up or Bravely. Now I have them on my radar. And I really wanted to educate, and this is my mission, I really want to educate our industry, not to freak out people, but to help them prepare themselves and just to make them aware where the threats are, because I still believe in human coaching, for sure. I think it would be a tragedy if humans would stop learning from humans and would only continue to learn from machines. But it's not up to me to make that decision. It's up to our clients, and we have to prove to our clients the value that we bring to the table as human coaches, because we are in direct competition with coaching technology. I think there's no doubt, at least in my opinion. But there are always opportunities.
Thank you for joining the tribe for educating people, coaches on the topic.
No, it's my pleasure.
Yes, and the topic of ethics, which is interesting, and I will be having in-person session in Orange County. If somebody is from there and watching in July, join me. And the topic is 50 Shades of Ethics. We'll spend a little bit time to talking ethics in technology, but overall, everywhere you look around, there are ethical issues. And the more we pay attention, the more we see them. And they come from us, and most likely because of the biases, most likely because of stereotyping, things that they're so simple, they exist, we know them, but we still don't change, or don't fight against, or I don't know, is complex. Did you touch on the topic of ethics, Eric, when you were talking with coaches?
I did. It was part. I asked my interviewees 10 questions, and one of the last questions was around ethics. However, to be frank, the feedback was not too large. I mean, obviously, of course, the typical issues we face in digital build around data, obviously. So who stores the data, who shares the data? But I did not find, let's put it this way, any statements that are worthwhile sharing here. Let's put it this way, which I found was interesting. So ethics is really not on mind of everyone. There was only one statement. One of the experts said that ethics is always 100 years behind technology, which is a general issue of us humans. So we first invent technology, and then we care about ethics. And this has been human behavior since as long as technology has been developed. So I believe there will be ethical discussions around the usage of coaching technology sometime in the nearby future, for sure. The more popular it becomes and the more people are getting coached by machines. So if I were a technology company, I would take great care about this area, because it's a huge responsibility, obviously, dealing with so much confidential information that clients are disclosing to whatever kind of artificial intelligent machine.
Yes, and even if the algorithms are not only already integrated and implemented in these platforms that you use them for conversations, like we are today. We are recording the session, but however, even if we don't, this information could be used. So what we do with that? But also the benefit of, imagine if we have to install so many conversations and we look at them and we is
I mean, if I may just give you a practical example, I'm not sure if it was Better Up or Bravely, but one of the companies, obviously, they are analyzing the data captured from the coaching conversation, if I understood correctly, and which is available then in whatever kind of form to the superiors, to the managers, etc., to analyze performance, give hints if a given employee is unhappy or is about to leave, things like that. It sounded a little bit shady. So to put it the other way around, if I work for a company that has licensed the technology of such a coaching tech startup, and I'm sharing this information, and I know that my supervisor has access to this data in some way or another, this is not following the code of ethics or code of conduct laid out by the coaching associations in terms of what you're allowed to share with your sponsor client.
Yes, however, the coaching, the code of ethics has to be reviewed and upgrade and update and especially now when we touch on to the topic technology, but even before, like, it's too vague, and that's the challenge of ethics. They are very gray, and sometimes things that they seem very, and you come from the base of the good heart, you can cause harm. So ICF and European Mentoring and Coaching Council and other organizations, they have to put a special attention to how to upgrade their code of ethics and how to reinforce that for practitioners to read. Thank you, Oliver, for putting this topic on the table, and I would like to allow you to talk if you want to share something in particular. If you're in a position to just speak up, is much more easier than chat in a chat box. If you want to say something, you can unmute yourself. I gave you the permission at the moment. I see that you make one more comment on the chat box. And what you're saying is, I think coaching conversations should only be shared if the user decides to share it by himself or herself. Management could potentially have trends to understand how the organization is feeling as a whole, but nothing should be shared about users if they did not make the decision earlier. It's about putting people at the center of the dynamics and decisions. True, but there is this device, or there is this space that still has the essence and the content of your conversation that could be shared or not. It exists, it's stored somewhere. And one thing is, if you want to share with your manager, if we're working on 3 sides of relation coaching agreement, the other thing is, if the developers want to use this information to their platform, for example. So there are multiple sides that information should be looked into, not only by exactly literally sharing what is being held on the chat or on the online conversation that is recorded. Eric, some final words for our audience, and we're close to the end.
Well, thank you very much to all of you for giving me this opportunity to share my findings. Unfortunately, I cannot share the presentation because I believe that I violated some copyright issues by stealing some of the pictures from Google. However, you can find me on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to share my dissertation because I will publish it anyways. It will be open to public, and so just check me out on LinkedIn, and happy to share the dissertation where you will find even more findings than I was able to present today.
Awesome. Yes, great. Thank you so much for being so generous. Regina says, thank you very much. Useful information one never thought of. Thank you, Regina, for being with us today. And thank you, Eric, for joining me. Thank you, Oliver, for contributing to the conversation. Thank you, everybody who was there with us. And I will have in 3 months, in August, I will have other guests. They are the founders of ProQuest. It's also a coaching platform. It's an Israeli platform for coaching, and they will be joining me in the conversation. Look up on the website for more information to be uploaded soon. Don't forget to fill up the survey. If you want the session to be sent to you, reach out to me on LinkedIn as well. Have a lovely, lovely rest of your day or night, maybe, perhaps, if you're joining somewhere as Oliver from France. Thank you. I'm in a mission to partner with technology, and I hope you join me.
Bye bye, all the best.